The Twin Towers opened on April 4th, 1973, and were the largest buildings of the world at the time. They were citadels of commerce, trade, and power.
It's massive, and it was bustling. Landmark. It marked Lower Manhattan. And it's just, the whole thing is just, I guess if you work there all the time, but it's a little unnerving. And you're literally looking out in the clouds. I always thought, like, it's just such an amazing sort of feat of engineering to like that up. And also I felt completely unsettled by being in there as it's sort of swaying around and talking about terrorism.
20 years after the Twin Towers were opened, in February 1993, it was the site of a terrorist attack when 1,500 pounds of explosives went off in the underground parking garage, killing 6.
Yeah, the World Trade Center, I think people forget how big it was. I think there were maybe 40,000 people who were actually in there, like who worked there. The Blind Sheik, tried to blow the thing up with a bomb.
Omar Abdel Rab, also known as the Blind Sheik, was the leader of the Al-Qaeda terror group. After some of his followers carried out the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, he was convicted of conspiracy.
So they were going to put security measures in, and at the time of the heist, you had to show an ID to get in. There weren't metal detectors, but they were supposed to be a much more sort of advanced security system in there that was being put in there. To get onto the elevator, you'd have to swipe it. Also, in going into the parking garages and stuff like that. We take all this now that seems like kind of amateur hour, but it's very hard to secure a building. You have 100,000 people coming in and out, and that's one of the most secure buildings. That was one of the most secure buildings in the city at the time.
Following the terror attack, it became almost unfathomable that anyone would commit a crime inside the Twin Towers, let alone one as big as the heist. But one group was bold enough to do so. On the morning of January 14th, 1998, around 8 a.m., 3 masked and armed men entered One World Trade Center.
They handcuffed all on board and bound the feet of most of the occupants of the elevator. The perpetrators removed a gun from one of the guards, and at the end of the act, they left that weapon behind. They did not touch the weapon of the other guard.
So you had 3 guys who went up in an elevator to the 11th floor. It's where there was a Bank of America pure currency exchange. And they went up there and they waited. And down below, on the street level, you've got 2 Brinks guards, and they're loading up a bunch of there's 6 bags, basically, about $3.2 million in currency. Half of it's U.S. and half of it's foreign. And they're putting on the dollies, and they're taking it up, and I think it's freight elevator 5. And they're going up. There's about 8 people in the car. One person gets out. They get up to 11, and they have doors open. And it's just as they're about to walk out, here these 3 guys are. One of them has a gun, pulls the gun, tells them to freeze. Goes in the elevator, ties them all up, takes 3 of the bags, rips them open, stuffs the money into their duffel. They chose the bags that they were getting. They might have mischosen, but they were very specific about these certain 3 bags. They then, after they got all that taken care of, they sent that elevator up to the 22nd floor, which was a floor under construction. Nobody was there. Then they went down in the passenger elevator to the ground floor. And it's at this point that they took off, after they got out of the freight elevator, they took off their ski masks. But they didn't think about the fact that there are, I think, 55 cameras in the World Trade Center at that point. And so there were very quickly images of all of their faces that went out on the APB and to find them.
Finish me.
The whole heist reportedly took about 45 minutes.
Nobody could figure out how they did it. Everybody said, it's got to be an inside job. It was the sort of story, any story, that was just going to lead every paper. It was just made for TV, made for the movies.
Unlike the movies, they end up getting caught. But how did they almost get away with it?
Well, they almost got away with it, except for the fact that their faces were shown, and they went back to their neighborhood.
2 of the 3 robbers went back to a quiet little neighborhood in Brooklyn.
Like Michael Reed and Melvin Folk, who say they were just along for the ride.
While another was nowhere to be found.
So, in covering this, one thing really struck me. I think it was a bartender said to me,